Good evening, folks. Here we go again. No Ron and Brecklyn. What is it, Elliott? She's studying for her
And no,
thesis, right?
she's not studying. She is doing her thesis. So
Yeah, she's working on her thesis. So it's going to be Cubs talk tonight, folks. But for the Cardinals fans who are tuning in, we are going to throw you guys a bone. We're going to front load everything as we talk about the team that's probably going to pain Elliott and I the most. To acknowledge Elliott, the first place St. Louis Cardinals.
we're still in the first month.
Sorry. I just.
If you're going to spew in this. For all you youngins, go watch Wayne's World.
You have to give credit where it's due, though. That offense is blowing up. I mean, they are really playing well offensively.
Yeah, hopefully everybody's off of Dex's rear end now that he's, it must be, it's got to be like a comfort thing. Maybe it takes a season or two to get comfortable with a team before you start performing at a level. And I know sometimes it's easier with other teams, and maybe you got to get used to the culture and, to the guys that you're playing with. Because you look at a couple of players from both teams, the Cubs and the Cardinals, that have underperformed at the beginnings of their contract, are now you're starting to see them perform at the levels that they were performing at before their moves. Dexter Fowler, Ozuna, Hayward, Quintana. I mean, these guys, maybe it just takes some time for these guys to get comfortable before they actually start playing the way that they should and can.
Yeah. You know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe that is exactly what it is it's merely a comfort level with these guys. Dex had a good year 2 years ago. At his biggest power year in his career.
Mm-hmm.
But then fell on hard times last year, and I think that it probably all kind of spiraled down. He got in the Matheny's doghouse, and then he started to question himself, and the depression set in, and he was injured, and it all just,
right.
And then the Cardinals fans started riding him and his wife on social media, and I think it all may have fed into itself a little bit.
Yeah.
But in the warm, loving embrace of Mike Schilt this year, he's performing well. I mean, he's slashing 310, 395, 423. Not typical numbers that you would expect from a right fielder, but you take an 818 OPS from a player on a regular basis. He's only got one home run, but he certainly seems to be rounding into it. He had 4 hits and 4 RBIs the other day, so you love to see it.
Yeah. I mean, he had one of his most productive games of his career with that 4-hit game, and I think it was 5 or 6 RBIs that he had.
He's got 6 total for the year.
Break. 6 total for the year. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
and then you're right. You mentioned the other one, Marcell Ozuna. Maybe finally got so embarrassed by his play after trying to catch that ball at the wall that fell 10 feet short that he decided that he was going to stop trying to be a Gold Glove defender again, and now he's hitting the crap out of the ball. He's got 9 home runs, 21 RBIs. His OPS is over 1,000. He's only 4 1,000ths of a point behind Paul DeJong, who's also playing out of his mind. I mean, if you want to look at anything to explain the Cardinals' recent hot streak, if you look at the offensive side of the ball, they are not missing in many spots when you look up and down that lineup.
No, not at all. And they've been putting up some crooked numbers too, which is really put into their run differential right now. So, first place Redbirds. Good for them. The Cardinals fans were in the same kind of panic mode that we as in Cubs fans had been at the beginning of the season. Now, I think we've been kind of level-headed about it a little bit because we know that these guys can play, and we know that Rizzo is always a slow starter, and but we've seen sustained production out of that bottom part of the order for most of this part of the of Javi, Hayward, Contreras. It's just that our bullpen and our starting pitching has been what has really been needed to catch up, and they have in these last 2 weeks or so. The offense has not gone away. I mean, I say that today was a 2-1 loss to the Dodgers, but the Dodgers are kind of the pinnacle of the National League this year so far. And they've got great starting pitching. They've got a solid bullpen, and they've got Kenley Jansen in there to close it out, which thankfully Dodgers only need to use him in this third game this week. So
yeah, they didn't even get a chance to really pull him out and play that card until today, which was, you're right, that was nice.
Yeah.
But, that's almost obviously the Dodgers are a very complete team. But to go back to the Cardinals, I mean, you look at them, they've been doing it with smoke and mirrors as far as the starting pitching goes of late. Right now, at least from an ERA standpoint, their best starting pitcher is Adam Wainwright. And I don't think anybody expected that.
No.
Miles Michaelis is flirting with a 5 ERA. He's already given up 5 home runs this year. 7 walks in 29 innings. Those aren't the kind of numbers that I think any Cardinals fan was expecting out of Miles Michaelis. But as Aaron Mullins has rightly predicted earlier, and as is happening right now, and as he's commenting on our feed, Paul DeJong for MVP. I mean, this team's hot. From the offensive standpoint, and Paul DeJong is the hottest of those Cardinals hitters. So, credit where due. And if you look at the bullpen, with the exception of Andrew Miller, the Cardinals bullpen has been performing. It's just that one weak link for them has been their starting pitching. They just they haven't come through. I think that the way that Cardinals fans and I think the organization expected them to. And it sounds like when Carlos Martinez gets healthy, they have no plans to put him into the rotation. He's going into the bullpen as well. So maybe they're planning to take a Milwaukee approach to this season and ask their starters to get as deep as they can into games, and then they're just going to try and shut it down and overwhelm their opponents with the bullpen. And if they can continue to play the way that they have, where they can just beat the crap out of teams,
right,
numbers, that's not a bad strategy. It certainly worked for the Brewers last year.
How's it working out for the Brewers so far this year?
Well, that's a problem. With the exception of Christian Yelich, although Christian Yelich apparently is only good in Milwaukee.
Right.
Everybody who didn't live in Wisconsin was expecting to see some regression, and it has certainly happened this year. They are that team's not playing well.
As of late.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, as of late, they have not been playing well at all. Yes, when they're at home, Yelich has been carrying the team. You are getting lackluster at bats from what is it? Is it Braun, Arcia, and a few of the other premier guys that had been performing? They're starting. They are who we kind of thought they were gonna be last year. Now, well, at this point in the season, their starting pitching is not that great and hasn't been performing well. And Hader is back to being human, and their bullpen isn't doing a whole lot. So I'm not sad about it at all.
If you look at their slash lines, right? Grandal has been performing. Gain has been performing, although not as well as last year. He's only hitting 263. His OPS is only 747. Moustakas, I suppose you could say he's been carrying the weight a little bit. And Yelich is insane, but beyond that, they're getting nothing from their offense. Just nothing.
Well, and nothing from Yelich at home or away from home.
Road, right. And then you just throw into that their pitching has been just as terrible or their starting pitching has been just as terrible as everybody expected it to be, with the exception of Zach Davies. and their relief pitching has been human.
Yeah.
This we discussed it at the beginning of the year. This is not going to be a walkaway division for any team.
Absolutely not.
And everybody who thought that the Brewers were going to run away and hide early in the year here, they're being proven sorely wrong.
I mean, we had a good week and a half of Milwaukee sitting up on top of the standings, and then we had a few days of Pittsburgh up on the standings.
Yep.
The Cubs were on the bottom for a hot minute, and then has steadily risen to second, and now we have the Cardinals sitting on top now. So it's kind of been a bit of a shuffleboard in the NL Central the last probably 10 days.
Yeah, you think about it. It's not going to take much for the Cubs to move up to the top and for 4 of the 5 teams in the division to have occupied first place at some point during this year. And it's going to happen. I have no doubt that at some point, I don't necessarily know that they're going to win the division, but at some point the Cubs will be in first place in the division. That's just the way this division is playing out this year so far.
Yeah.
The only team that clearly has no chance to end up occupying first place for even 30 minutes is the Reds. They're already at 9-14 and they're sinking steadily. That's a team that, boy, they were putting their eggs in in a basket for 1 year and going all in this year. They missed badly. The team's going to have to be beaten up, which is a shame because Joey Votto deserves better.
Much better, and there are some good players on that team, and they've got some nice young pitching that, again, early in the season, maybe they can win a little bit more. They got to beat the bad teams. You always got to beat the bad teams. You go play Miami. You go, really, I was going to say San Diego, but they're playing pretty decent now.
Nipping,
yeah.
At the Dodgers' heels. I mean, they were, I think, a half game back at the start of the day. So I don't know what they've done so far tonight.
Yeah, if the Cubs would have won today, then I think San Diego would be in first place right now. So
yeah, they might be. It's too bad that we don't have obviously Ron or Aaron or somebody on here who pays a little more attention because while I love seeing the Cardinals spend a lot of money on relievers and then see it blow up in their faces, just like it did last year, and like it's doing this year. I would love to hear from somebody who has a bit more perspective and spends a bit more time watching. I would love to know what's wrong with Andrew Miller, because honestly, when they signed him, that did scare me a little bit.
Absolutely.
It scared me a lot more than it did when you texted the other day and said that the Brewers had made the season-changing move of picking up Gio Gonzalez, which is going to be less than nothing to this division race.
I mean, he was signed to a $2 million contract by the Yankees, and then it was a minor league contract, and then he was cut. Yep. So then the Brewers picked him up. So, and we were talking about this before the show. Yes, he had some good numbers in the playoffs last year for the Brewers, but
5 games.
That's it. So he was, I think, 3-0.2. So,
yeah, small sample size. And he's a year older. And he clearly would look. If he was going to be good, the Yankees would have added him.
Right.
Boy, talk about. I know this is a rivalry podcast, but my God, I heard today. I think it's the 21st player that the Yankees put on the IL today.
Oh my gosh.
They are a walking mash unit. Stanton and Judge are both on. I think they just brought Gary Sanchez back. I mean, they have been cycling through injured players. It's crazy.
And you wouldn't even know it because they're still 14-10, and their score, their offense is potent. They're scoring a ton of runs.
Yep.
But they're still not even on top of that AL East division. It's the Tampa Bay Rays.
No, the Rays are playing unbelievably well.
Yeah.
And
I couldn't tell you one player on that team, though.
And the Red Sox have been terrible. 11-15. I mean, they have a negative 32 run differential.
Oh, my God.
I don't know how that's – That has to be the biggest. Honestly, that has to be the biggest surprise of the season, more so than the Rays leading the division, because the Rays always seem to manage to make the most out of nothing.
Right.
Negative 32 run differential. There are only two teams worse than that in baseball right now, and they're the Baltimore Orioles and the Marlins, and both of those teams are trying to lose.
No, absolutely. One of my other disappointments so far has been the LA Angels. I mean, I thought they were going to be right up there in the pack on the AL West, and they're not.
Oh, 9-16.
They're yeah, and they're not scoring runs at all. So, but why don't we get back into some Cubs talk? I know we kind of did our around the league. No, I don't think so. I mean, it's been a good week of baseball. Been a good week for the Cubs. The pitching has been great. The bullpen has been good. The offense has been solid. I would say from 4 to 8, which is odd.
Although Rizzo is looking very hitterish last week. He looks really good. Bryant still looks a little bit off.
He's put some solid hits, solid bat to the ball, which is encouraging.
But he's not elevating yet.
No, but I think at this point now, I think it's getting a couple of cheap knocks and maybe putting some solid bat to ball. And everybody always says confidence level, and I don't think it's confidence for him. I just think that it's whatever mechanic that he's working through right now is going to give him that comfortableness that he needs at the plate to keep making that solid contact. So, but good things all around.
Yeah, I agree. Boy, I tell you, I think I don't know that I mentioned it on the show last week, but I did tell you and Brecklyn that I took my son to the game on Sunday, and it was a glorious day at Wrigley, man. It was the perfect day. We were out in the bleachers. I know you saw it on the replay. The Diamondbacks home run that came in the ninth inning sailed literally 5 feet over my head. If you go back and you watch the replay, you can actually see me reach up trying to catch the ball, because I didn't want to have the opportunity for a ball to catch a ball and not have at least tried. But God, it was glorious. I tell you, that was it was fun watching that game when Javi came up in the ninth inning, because I was very conscious of the fact that he was batting. And so as soon as he put that ball down, I locked onto him. And I've never paid that much attention to Javi when he's running on the bases. But now I understand a little bit of that El Mago magic, because he was watching Adam Jones the whole time. As soon as he was out of the box, his eyes were on Adam Jones. And the moment that Adam Jones bobbled that ball, Javi kicked it into another gear.
Oh, yeah.
He knew he was going to get a double, but as soon as and you normally don't see that, right? Normally you'll see a player makes up their mind that this is going to be a double, and so they're not paying attention to the right fielder, and their focus is entirely on second base. Man, on that play, not Javi. And now I understand how it is that all these players make bad throws and everything, because he is so locked into the moment that the slightest bobble and he's gone. And that just throws them off, right? Like Adam Jones took his eyes off that ball for a second, and that was enough for Javi to end up at third base, which was pretty incredible, man. You don't see that often, so it was cool to see some of that magic.
No, we kind of saw this a little bit last year too with him, where he would force the outfielders to make a play on him and to rush whatever motion or whatever they're fielding, which it caused them to make mistakes and to make an error. Yep. So
I think that's exactly what happened on Sunday.
I feel like he's getting a little bit more bold, and it'll probably cause some undue mistakes or outs trying to get an extra base. And I mean, sometimes I saw some griping on Twitter when he got thrown out at second, but it was a hit and run. Descalzo missed the ball. He got thrown out at second. He was kind of hung out there to dry, so you really can't blame Javi for that.
But you wonder about it. It's kind of like stolen bases, right? What do they say? I think it's 66% success rate in order for it to be worth it.
Right.
I'm sure that somebody could sit down and figure out what's the break-even point for a player like Javi to be aggressive, to be heady like that, and to force the issue. Because, for example, on Sunday, him taking that extra base completely altered the way that they approached, I think, Wilson Contreras and definitely David Bodie. If he was standing on second, they might have pitched around Contreras and approached things differently with Bodie, because if you put Contreras on first, well, now the double play is still in order because you got that on first and second. But with him on third, they needed to be aggressive with Contreras because they needed to get 3 outs.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I would never say, hey, he needs to change or back it off, because that's his game. And he makes, like, he does not stop out of that box because he is counting on those players screwing something up and him stealing an extra base. So
definitely.
I love it.
So tell me, Elliott, what has you more excited? Javi's continued MVP play, or the Jason Hayward train switching from a steam engine to a high-speed diesel engine?
I'm on that choo-choo train, baby. I am on that choo-choo train.
Ron made fun of us last year. And I think, you know what? I wonder if that's not part of the reason why Ron's been staying away. It's got nothing to do with whatever we've been speculating about both on and off the air. I wonder if it's not his recognition before anybody else that Jason Hayward was going to be hotter than Hades, and he didn't want to be a part of it and have to listen to you and I celebrating that. It certainly seems through, 30 games?
Yeah.
That he seems to have finally figured it out. And it's not just the numbers. If you watch and you listen, and that's really, I think, where you can really tell. If you listen to a Cubs game on the radio, that ball sounds different coming off of his bat than it had the previous 3 years.
Oh, it's solid contact. Is he going to scorch that ball into the ground every once in a while into a double play? Absolutely.
Everybody does.
But he's hitting it all over the field now. He is not just pulling it down to the right side of the diamond. There is opposite power there. And I think most of his home runs have been to like left and left center.
Yeah, they've definitely been to the power alleys.
Right.
He hasn't been trying to yank everything, which I think is a really good sign.
No.
Last night's 3-run homer was to just left of center field into the basket, which for a left-handed hitter, that's a poke.
He crushed it too.
He did. So. Absolutely. And you look at the numbers. There's only one other player with a higher OPS than Jason Hayward right now on the Cubs, and that's Wilson Contreras.
Yes.
Javi has more home runs.
Right.
But, clearly, Hayward's getting it done. And I think that may be the thing that is the most impressive, is that OPS is not just built on him hitting the ball hard. He's got a .450 on-base percentage. Again, he's only second behind Wilson Contreras on the Cubs. He is clearly seeing the ball well.
Yes, both of them. And you know what? Kudos to Contreras after what happened at the second half of the season last year. Everybody says he's worked his butt off, and he wanted to correct whatever was going on in the second half of the season and make sure that it doesn't happen. And I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but it seems like a lot of the batters that struggled last season, a lot of the guys that struggled last season, are crouching just a little bit more in their stance and have a little bit more pronounced step when they're swinging the bat. So it could be just like a timing mechanism, or it could just maybe keeping their swing a little bit shorter. But I've noticed that, and I've noticed the opposite field hitting for everybody.
Translation, thank you, Anthony Iapoce.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been really awesome to see. And this is what they were doing in 2016. Situational hitting, using the entire field, hitting to the opposite field when it made sense, taking what the pitcher is giving you and just putting the bat on the ball.
And, you know, that's interesting because when you think about it, and obviously we weren't in those conversations. We don't know what Chili Davis was telling guys.
Absolutely, yeah.
We do know that a big part of his philosophy was more bat to ball contact. You know, sacrifice a little bit of power for more contact. And I could see where possibly that translated to him encouraging the hitters to be a little bit more upright, give yourself a little bit more reach across the plate, be able to make a little bit more contact and sacrifice some of that power that you're getting from a crouch.
Right.
But if you're a player who naturally bats from a crouch, like Schwarber, like Contreras, like Hayward, like Chris Bryant, being a little bit more upright very well may be counterproductive and may have altered their swings. And that could be why they struggled a bit last year. I mean, Bryant's different because obviously he didn't get out of his crouch.
No.
But still, he's just one more example of guys who seem to bat a little bit more out of a crouch. Schwarber, I think, is the most notable one from last year to this year.
Yeah. Yeah, and right now, he's another story. He's kind of a bit of two halves of this first month of the season. Started out looking really good at the plate, taking his walks, making good contact, hitting home runs, and then the last couple weeks, he's looked a little lost, swinging outside the zone, and not hitting those mistakes out in the middle of the plate. He's been fouling them off, kind of like what Bryant had been doing the last week and a half, 2 weeks as well. So maybe it's something mechanical that he's ironing out. That I don't know. He just doesn't look like his normal self up there. Maybe he's just not seeing the ball. So
yeah, I definitely agree. But you could almost argue that despite all this talk that you and I have been having right now about how well the offense has been performing, really this hot streak that the Cubs have been riding is built on the sudden emergence of the starting pitching. And we talked about it a little last week, but they had a streak there, including Tyler Chatwood of all people, where every time the Cubs starting pitcher took the ball, they were giving you a quality start.
Yeah.
And that was something that we dreamed on in the offseason.
Yeah, we had a couple of guys who had like starting pitchers who were on a bit of a streak of not giving up an earned run. I think Quintana gave up an earned run in his last – I don't even know if it was earned run. I think it was just he gave up a run in his last start, but it had been 14 or 16 innings without giving up a run. Obviously, Lester's been hurt. He came back, but he looked sharp today. Even though he took the loss, he still looked good in his start. Hendricks looked okay in his last start as well. Hamels has looked great all season. Yeah. He's really been kind of the backbone of the start. Him and Lester have kind of been the backbone of starting pitching so far this year. Tyler Chatwood in that spot start, everybody was kind of like, well, here we go. Let's see what happens. And he looked good.
After he settled down after that first bat, it was testy in the stadium after that first batter. You know, he gave up a 4-pitch walk to start the game, and everybody
I know.
Really, this is how we're going to start.
Right.
And he just started, tons of soft contact, a lot of ground balls, everything that you could have hoped for. I think he only gave up 2 walks the whole game, and both walks got erased on double plays. So couldn't have asked for more.
Right, and which was the reason the Cubs took the signing on him, was because he does give up weak contact and he does induce the ground ball because his stuff is so so great. So his stuff has always been great. It's just that he was never able to locate it in the strike zone. And now that he's doing that, watch out. I mean, I don't know if he's going to start another game, in the next few weeks. I mean, he's obviously going to have to go to the bullpen and be like that right-handed Mike Montgomery.
But if he can continue to perform like this,
right,
he could make awfully enticing trade bait for another team.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. But if you have a Tyler Chatwood that has figured it out, do you want to trade him?
That's a good question. I guess it depends on what you can get for him.
Right.
Because he does have 2 years. And who knows who else is going to be available on the trade market or on next year's free agent market. I mean, by the time that the free agent market comes around, you don't know if anybody is going to be available after having signed extensions.
That's true. And we don't know what team is going to be maybe willing to trade their closer, because currently the Cubs are lacking in that position right now.
Speaking of which, you saw what happened with Pedro Strop, right?
I did. I didn't know it until after the game.
Yeah, I don't think anybody did. That's hilarious. And for those of you who are watching or listening after the fact, in case you missed it, Pedro Strop, his car got stolen last night.
Before the game yesterday.
Before the game. And apparently he was talking to the Chicago Police Department until the fourth inning. And finally he said, guys, I may need to pitch, so I got to go. We can pick this up after the game, but I got to go warm up. And so while he was in the bullpen warming up to close out the game, apparently the Chicago Police Department was chasing his stolen car around Chicago.
Yeah. Isn't it a Ferrari?
Yeah, something like that. I missed what it was, but that was, I think, the best part. They found his car, and it was in a high-speed chase.
Right. That is awesome. Oh, Aaron Mullins commenting, I'm not saying that Mikolas joining our show and him going 8 innings in his next start are connected, but
I think you're going to have the entire rotation on the show with you, Aaron.
Because if they're going to do that every time they're joining the show, maybe that's this year's salsa.
There you go. That's it.
So,
Usual Suspects is this year's salsa.
Yeah. So they're all going to want to be on.
I could get down with that. I could also get down with me trying to sabotage the posting of every single one of those podcasts when they face the Cubs.
There you go.
Speaking of which, coming up soon, isn't it? Next weekend, I think, is their first series.
You know what? It has been. I really haven't been looking out at the schedule. I'm going to take this cliche and I'm going to run it right into the ground. I've just been watching it one game at a time there, Peter.
Well, I do know, and I just confirmed it. The Cardinals are at Wrigley next weekend, starting on Friday. So they will be at Wrigley for Star Wars Day.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, it's just too bad that you bastards don't truly respect the Force.
Oh, whatever.
I do have something for you guys, but I'm not going to reveal it until I can meet you guys in person.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, we'll have to reach out to Mr. Nettle to see if we can get a special podcast together that weekend or that week leading up to the first Cubs Cards, to see if we can get him on to talk some baseball with us.
Yeah, that'd be great. Maybe we could get a whole mega cast going. We can get 6 different podcasts to collaborate. It'll just be chaos.
There we go. That'd be amazing. So what do we got for the rest of the weekend?
For this weekend? The Cubs have an off day tomorrow, don't they? No, they don't.
No, tomorrow's Friday.
They do not. That's right. They do not. The Cardinals were off today, but they start a 3-game set tomorrow. And the Cubs, the Cubs go to Arizona this weekend.
That's right.
So they left for Arizona this afternoon and are heading out for a 3-game set in Phoenix.
Arizona just coming off a 4-game sweep of the Pittsburgh Pirates in Pittsburgh.
Coming off an 8-2 road trip.
Yeah.
The only 2 losses, of course, to the
Cubs.
Second place Chicago Cubs.
That's right. So, but Greinke pitched tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Today. So the Cubs will miss him again. I don't think they saw him in the last series, or was that the only loss in the series?
No, that was the loss in the series. Greinke pitched well.
So,
I wouldn't say he shut them down or anything, but he pitched well. He definitely played well against the Cubs.
Okay, and then this weekend the Cardinals are home against the Reds.
That's right.
So
the Cardinals will win 3 more games this weekend, and then they go to Washington for a few games.
Okay, yeah, and they are now
4-game set.
4-game set against Washington. Okay,
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Well, hopefully Washington does a number on their bullpen and the Cubs can feast over the weekend.
That would be lovely.
That would be with him.
So what else we have for tonight? Anything? I know it's without the Cardinals talk, it's
not as exciting. It's not the same. I tell you, obviously there's going to be some talk coming up very soon because today Addison Russell started his what do they call it? His it's not a rehab assignment.
No,
his tune-up assignment with the Iowa Cubs.
I didn't know if you wanted to go there tonight.
Well, I don't know how much there is to say about it right now because until it happens, there's not much to talk about. And Theo spoke about it today. I wasn't able to listen to the highlights. Maybe you were, but the sense I got is that they're not in any hurry to call him up.
No. And it sounds like I read some of the comments this evening from Madden as well. So the gist of it that I get is that it's not just 1 week that Addison could be down there. They talked it could be a couple of weeks because they may want to get Addison some fielding at second base because it sounds like shortstop is hobbies. And you know what?
Well,
he has, and he's looked great at shortstop. It is his natural position. He does have a better arm than Addison Russell does. And with the way that Javi is playing, I'd say keep your MVP candidate happy in the spot. And yeah, maybe you need to get Addison Russell some, a week or 2 or 20, at second base in Iowa. Just so maybe you can get some eyes on him from some other teams and maybe you move him. I don't know what their thought is behind this, but Theo had kind of said, guys, he's like, seriously, he's like, I can't really tell you what we're going to do because we don't know what we're going to do. We are taking this one day at a time with him because it sounds like, any inkling of a screw up and he's out.
Yeah.
So,
I think at this point it's 0 tolerance. If he screws up again, that's it. They're done.
Yeah.
And strictly from a human point of view, I don't want to see that. I want to see him redeem himself, just as I would want to see anybody redeem themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But I, 100%, if he doesn't stick to the letter of the law, you got to cut bait.
Shoot him to the moon. Yeah,
we your chance, and you knew how serious we were. You knew what the potential consequences were, and this is on you. This is nothing to do with us. Yeah, it's going to be a difficult decision whenever the time comes because Descalso has been hitting. Bodie has been playing well. You still have Brian at third base, and you still have Zobrist. And yes, you can push Zobrist to the outfield, but still, you got to find time. I kind of wonder if the person who this doesn't affect is actually Albert Almora.
Yeah, and somebody had talked about that too. I can't remember if it was on the radio today or not. That is it possible that they could work Addison out of center field? I mean, would they do that? Especially with the way that Bodie is playing, and you're seeing Bryant out and left more because of that. That you would get a steady diet of KB, question mark in center field, Hayward and right, and then Bodie, Javi, Descalzo, Zobrist, Rizzo, Contreras, pitcher. I mean, that it makes sense the way that those guys have been playing so far. And then, I mean, it sucks that it causes Schwarber to kind of become your utility outfielder at that point, because you're not going to want to take Hayward's bat out of the lineup if you don't have to.
He's hitting.
Exactly. I mean, if he keeps going the way he's going, yeah, there's going to be some hiccups here and there, but I mean, for right now, it looks like he's got it figured out.
Yep. When you think about it, if they are going to bring Russell up, it's got to be either Zagunis or Almora who goes down. Zagunis doesn't provide the defense that he's a superior bat compared to Russell. And are you gaining that much more? On the other hand, are you gaining that much more by replacing Almora with Russell? Is because neither of them in the last 2 years, the beginning of last year, yes, but when you look at his track record, Albert Almora hasn't contributed that much with the bat, and Russell hasn't contributed that much with the bat since the championship season. So,
right,
is Russell's defense? Yes, it's been at a more valuable position, but not that much more valuable. Is Russell's defensive contribution that much more valuable than Almora's to where you can justify swapping one out for the other? Yeah. And I don't know the answer to that question.
No, I don't either. So that's why we're not running Major League Baseball clubs.
And it'll be hard to project, obviously, because you would expect that somebody who has had, 5 years of experience at the major league level and has done fairly well, he's going to feast on AAA pitching.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He should.
I mean, Ian Happ's playing well, with the exception of his strikeout rate, but it's AAA pitching. It's not the majors. He's not facing Jacob deGrom. He's not facing Noah Syndergaard's 91 mile an hour slider. I mean,
right.
He's facing guys who aren't in the majors for a reason. So yeah, that'll be a difficult one. I have a feeling that we're going to be talking about that sooner rather than later, and dealing with the fallout from that. So, anything else?
No, I think that's it.
All right. Yeah. Look, if we're going to go Cubs talk, we're not going to, make you listen to us for 45 minutes. And you have to give us credit, Cardinals fans. We did at least make an attempt to discuss your team for a little bit. At least give it.
And I know it's been an exciting, last 10 days for your team too. We don't watch your team if we don't have to. So I'm sorry.
I think we just got our episode title.
Yeah.
So hopefully next week we'll have Aaron or Adam or Brecklyn, or who knows? Maybe the Godfather will be on here. We'll let you know as soon as we do. But hopefully, leading into that first Cubs Cardinals series of the season, we'll have a little bit more balance as we do a little season preview.
There we go.
All right. So when we're not live on Facebook at Team Arrivals Podcast, you can find us online at teamarrivalspodcast.com. We're on Twitter at Team Arrivals Pod, and we're also on Instagram at Team Arrivals Podcast. You can contact us by email at the show at teamarrivalspodcast.com. On Twitter, you can find Elliott at
TOR_Elliott. And if anybody sends me endgame tweets, I'm going to reach through Twitter and I'm going to slap you.
You can find Ron on Twitter, but he's not going to answer, so I'm not going to bother giving you his handle. Find Brecklyn, give her a hard time, or wish her luck on her thesis. Find her on Twitter at CarryOnCards, C-A-R-E-Y, because it's a pun, and she's clever that way. If you're listening to us after the fact, why not give Radio Public a try? Radio Public is a free platform that throws a couple of pennies our way every time you listen. Otherwise, you can share us anywhere you listen or your friends listen to podcasts. iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, and Google Podcasts. And if you would like some of your own Team of Rivals gear with the old school logo or the new one, don't forget to visit the team store on Zazzle. Elliott, when do you see an Endgame?
Oh, I don't know. Probably in a week, I'd imagine. The house just went on the market. Actually goes on the market tomorrow. So
there's some news. If you want to buy a house in Milwaukee suburbs, contact Elliott at TOR_Elliott.
There you go. Come by my house. You can get all the Cubs swag. No, you
don't. And he doesn't mean come by his house, like walk along. He means come by.
Come by my house. That's right.
If you want, you let us know. We will paint a Team of Rivals logo on the side of the house.
There we go. There's plenty of room.
All right, buddy. Well, I know that I am going to see Endgame on Sunday, so I will do my best to ruin your week.
No, thank you.
Dropping little bits of information every day.
Hey, Sunday we got Game of Thrones, so I'm going to be out of pocket.
Game of what?
Game of Thrones, my friend.
I don't care.
Oh, man. Come on.
And I'm the one. I mean, I was a huge D&D nerd when I was a kid, so I should be the one. Of the four of us, I should be the one who is locked on.
No kidding.
I quite honestly have not watched more than 30 seconds of that show.
Start with episode 1. You'll get hooked.
Yeah, maybe someday. I'm a little busy right now. Boy and I are watching re-watching the Clone Wars. So
nice.
The goal is to have the Clone Wars wrapped up in time for the Disney Plus launch date, so that we can slide right into season 7.
Got till November, so.
Yeah, we got plenty of time. But then we got to catch up on the rest of the movies so that we're ready to go for episode 9 when Rise of Skywalker.
That's right.
Yep.
Excellent.
All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in. We will talk to you next week as the Cubs and the Cardinals will face off, and hopefully first place in the National League Central Division will be on the line. Have a good one, everybody.